There, we should have full audio now. I'm sorry, everyone. I am very the dumb. I accidentally deleted my nested scene that included all the audio sources. Oh, and Brett has joined us. Welcome in this morning, Brett. Nice to have you here.
Hello, hello.
So, for those who don't know, Brett and Tim are the hosts of the Dev Game Club podcast, which has brought this community together. They look at games from the past that have had a notable effect on the industry and talk about that way that they've swayed the industry, things that they never considered while working on their own games, things like that. And it has been 8 years, I believe you said now, Brett?
Yeah, almost 9. It'll be 9 at the end of February.
9 at the end of this year. That is no small feat. So congratulations to you both.
Yeah, nice work.
On such a successful podcast. I hope you're still enjoying it. I hope that you're still finding that you're getting what you want out of it. So to give some context to this event, this started off where Tim used to be streaming fairly regularly and then just suddenly for a few weeks vanished off the face of the planet with his streams. We're not sure what happened. We're not asking a lot of questions here because that's entirely on his situation and we are not here to pry. But we just started making jokes of, hey, what if on the anniversary we streamed a bunch of games? It's like, wait, what if we really drove it home about being Tim and played a bunch of games Tim hasn't beaten for the podcast yet? It's like, wait, guys, what if we actually did that and made something good out of it? And so we decided that in the process, we're going to raise money for the Video Game History Foundation, which has an announcement that they made mention of earlier this week, and you will see a short video about that soon. Welcome in Defeating Games and Aegis. Happy to have you here. So, Brett, since you're a bit of an outsider, since you're not an active participant in this, why don't you touch on your perception of this event?
I mean, I'm happy that the community gets together and does this, without any real input from ourselves. I know we have some streamers in the podcast community, and it's fun. I drop in from time to time to see various ones, and they're always enjoyable. And of course, because of the focus of our podcast, something like the Video Game History Foundation is close to our hearts. It's fun to see that kind of grassroots sort of thing come together. I think grassroots campaigns are kind of the best way to support a lot of things, honestly, in this day and age. Since top down, our community doesn't, or rather, our society doesn't really seem interested. So it's nice to see.
I'm glad to hear that. And Tim, you were the first one we could really get active on this yourself. How'd you feel joining in on the joke at your expense?
Oh, it was quite fun. I am humbled, and I think both of us are humbled at how much has been going on in the community, in the Discord community especially. So definitely head over to the Discord if you want more. But last year was amazing. Like I just, you all did it yourselves, you folks, and put it together, and I just kind of showed up and it just was way beyond my expectations as far as how far it went. You can see on Keaon's wall back there how much we made and how much you made, and it was just a joy. So well put together. Everyone was organized except me, and without help from you all and Brett, I would never get this stuff going. But yeah, I had a great time last time, and don't mind the expense. It is definitely a joke that I don't finish enough games on the podcast. We play quite a bit over a month.
You do,
and it's definitely hard to make it happen. But I appreciate that. But this year, I think we have a different theme. It's not really that theme, right? So I don't know if you've already talked about
it is not. The theme was just games that we wanted to take a bit of a look at, a little deeper. In your case, you're revisiting something that you've already done for the podcast with Trespasser, which is a bit of a dumpster fire of a game in the most interesting of ways.
Yeah.
Like there's ideas there.
I
that
definitely want to look at it
somewhere.
more deeply. That's definitely my motivation for playing it today. No, not at all.
I thought you
your
were just
choice.
kind of press ganged into it.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't vote. Don't put this on me.
No, it's gonna be fun.
Keaon's looking at a couple of a classic and something that all its inspiration. Why don't you talk a little bit about that, Keaon?
Yeah. I wanted to. I'm kind of known for my NES gameplay, so I wanted to show a little bit of another side of me. I do enjoy some modern games. The most modern of which that I'll be playing today is about 10 years old now. I'll be playing. It's tomorrow. Tomorrow evening I'll be playing Shovel Knight. And my inspiration for the other games that I chose were essentially the inspiration for Shovel Knight. The Nintendo Entertainment System game DuckTales. You've got Scrooge McDuck, who can use his cane as a pogo stick, and just like Shovel Knight can use his shovel as a pogo. And then if we unlock, we have some milestone incentives. If we unlock the $2,500 incentive, I will also add the original Mega Man, which is very clearly the other inspiration for Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight, there are 8 bosses, night bosses in Mega Man. In the original Mega Man, there are 6 Robot Masters. The series evolved to always offering 8 Robot Masters after the first entry. And so, yeah, I'll be playing a kind of a modern entry into that DuckTales Mega Man mix with the game Shovel Knight. And with those games, just hope to demonstrate that anyone can beat these games. That the games may be difficult on the surface, but with a few strategies, you can get through them.
So just really rubbing into Tim right now is what you're doing.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, anybody can beat Mega
Anybody
Man.
can do this.
Neither Brett nor I beat Mega Man, but I definitely want to revisit it at some point, and I might need a guide and a teacher in Keaon at some point.
Yeah.
I love your figures in the back, by the way. Very.
Thank
very
you. Yeah.
appropriate.
My son. That's my son's Mega Man behind me. That is my Shovel Knight. But yeah, I borrowed that for the stream today. So
well, make sure your son knows we appreciate the ephemera being offered up for display.
Thanks.
Now, just to go into yours a little bit deeper there, Keaon. Obviously, Mega Man more got popular with the releases of 2 and 3, and that's kind of where the back and forth goes.
Yeah.
Is the reason you decided to go back to the original, where the guys looked at Mega Man 2 and X in the series?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually did think about this. When I chose which additional Mega Man game I wanted to play, I was really between the next entry, Mega Man 3, which is probably the second most popular game behind Mega Man 2 in the base Mega Man series, or the original, which is, admittedly, it's very rough around the edges. The original, less so than Mega Man 2, is just not polished. It's brand new. It's very clearly cut for time. There are only 6 Robot Masters. There was the intent to have 8 in that game, and they just didn't make it before the game was needed to be published. So Mega Man 1 being rough around the edges is not known for a lot of people loving it, and I want to show that, yes, it is rough around the edges, but here is the beginning. Here's what started it all off, and here are the Robot Masters, truly that the best. Despite 2 and 3 being the most popular, Mega Man 1's got Cut Man in it and Guts Man, and those are the ones that Capcom kind of always highlights as staple Mega Man Robot Masters.
Now, are all these games that you've already completed on your NES quest?
Absolutely. Yeah. Mega Man, a few years back, I went...
The first day.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But I went back and I played through the entire Mega Man series. On the NES, there are 6 of them. So there are a lot of Mega Man games on just one Nintendo console. But that was many years ago already that I've completed those. I would always be willing, for some reason, if someone wanted to see me play them on stream, I'd always be willing to bring them back. Yeah. Big fan.
So you hear that, folks? Keaon's not doing anything new for his NES quest. He's
Mega Man
still
quest.
stuck with the 500 and some odd games left.
That's right.
Where are you at in your NES quest?
Yeah,
there,
I just beat, recently I beat the game Q*bert for my NES quest. That's my quest to beat every North American released Nintendo Entertainment System game. And that was entry number 212. So we've beaten over 200 Nintendo Entertainment System games, but still there are 550 more to go. There's not a shortage of Nintendo games behind me to be completed.
Now, do you see yourself managing to complete this within your lifetime?
That's the goal. Just before I die, maybe we'll finish that 758th game. Yeah.
Well, look at it this way. You're still at a better completion ratio than Tim is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sick
No,
burn. Yeah.
No, keep it coming. Keep it coming.
Look, we can't ignore the reason that we started this, so it's going to come down to that. And going back to something I meant to mention earlier, Tim, where you just said how you just kind of showed up. I mean, for the most part, I just wound up only conceiving of this, and a bunch of other people took on all the administration stuff, especially Biostats, who isn't here right now, and I don't know if he's going to be able to make it for the call. A lot of people have done a lot of behind-the-scenes work where a lot of it is like, I'm not sure how much I can do, but I know I'm going to make this happen. And then Bio's like, I've got this. I'm like, oh, thank you. That's so much stuff that I am not, I do not excel at. I can do it. I do not excel. So I want to extend some thanks to some people behind the scenes, some who might show up, such as Lost Lake, who will be raiding into after my games. He'll be playing some Minecraft, which the guys at Dev Game Club just completed their series on the previous week. We have Oh Hi Mark, who can't make it here today. He did a lot of our website and a lot of our graphics, though keep in mind he is a robot, so it's not difficult for him. He will tell you otherwise, but this is just a case of Vincent Adultman where I'm the only one who's seeing this, and you're all refusing to admit the truth. Those of you who don't know Vincent Adultman, then I can't help you. And Keaon himself did a lot of the behind-the-scenes work as well. And Calamity Nolan, who I believe is also playing tomorrow, not today, doing a Pikmin randomizer run, who has done a lot of marketing and reaching out and things like that. So I do want to make sure that all the work that is done is acknowledged, not just the stuff that you're seeing here on screen. This is the event, but this here and making it happen as best we can. Also, I want to say thank you to Henry Brodel for the follow and being here in chat, as well as Jeffer Entertainment. Thanks for being here, guys. Nice to see you all in. So yeah, Tim, what are you hoping to see in terms of success for this event? Like, what would it look like for you?
Oh, I mean, you know, getting to the goals, getting to the stretch goals would be great for the History Foundation. We have a fun thing that that Belmont's gonna do if we hit that final. What's the number on it?
I think it's 4,500.
4,500. That's right. Yep. And so, not to be plugging anything so early, but if we get to 4,500, then Brett and I will be on stream, I guess, in Discord maybe is probably how we'll do it, while he plays Jedi Starfighter for the first time, which is a game we worked on back in the day. I think the second game we worked on together. And so that'll be a trip down memory lane, because I haven't played it maybe for a long time, so we'll see what I even remember. Brett's memory's much better. So I hope we get that far and beyond. That would be great. But I really want to see Keaon play Mega Man 1 as well. So, which will take like 2 minutes probably, but it still will be fun.
Yeah, it's closer to 3 minutes, but yeah.
Oh,
right.
Wow.
And Biostats has joined us. Thanks for joining in, Bio. We're happy to have you here, and you just missed the color of thanks to all the work you've done.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Bio!
Right. Sorry, I have, not that anybody needs to know this, I just had surgery on my ankle, so I'm not weight bearing, so it takes me forever to do anything.
I'm sorry.
Well, you've had a lot to do, so a little bit of tardiness at this point is not unreasonable. So again, thank you for all the behind the scenes work you've done that meant I didn't have to. It's a huge weight off of me as the one who was like conceiving of this, trying to play into the joke. It's like, yeah, we can do a joke and make something good out of this at the same time, so let's see what we can do. And just you've taken all that off my plate in a big way, and I cannot thank you enough for all that. So again, thank you for all the behind the scenes stuff you've done.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's turn to Brett for a second here. Get into the Jedi Starfighter details. How are you feeling about the possibility of having to revisit that, considering it's only $500 more to reach that than we raised last year?
Oh,
Brett, we can't hear you.
You double muted.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yep. Take your time.
Discord.
Yeah,
Windows.
Windows Discord.
Yeah, Windows usually.
Discord is great when it works, and then when it doesn't, it kicks you in the butt.
Yeah. This is a daily occurrence for us, and Brett's favorite thing in life is this.
All right, so while we're waiting for Brett to get that sorted out, okay, I want you to talk about what success is going to look like for you with this year's event.
Yeah, if we exceed last year's goal, I'll be over the moon. I'm really excited to see if we can do that. Last year, we raised more money than we originally set out for, and the Video Game History Foundation has told us personally that they don't have a lot of large revenue sources, and even $4,000 that we raised last year was a big source for them. So that was really exciting to hear. And if we can do that again, great. We set our sights for $5,000 this year, so if we can hit there, that's going to be amazing. And raising that money will be great. They've got some good causes. You can go to gamehistory.org to learn more about the Video Game History Foundation and go check out some of the recent projects and whatnot. So yeah, that would be fantastic.
Let me go ahead and put that in chat before I forget.
Can you
Yeah,
hear me
Go,
now?
folks.
Oh yeah. Uh huh.
All right. Well, I'm back. Sorry. I actually have played Jedi Starfighter more recently than Tim. I played it around 2013 or 2014. I don't remember exactly when. I was playing through all my PS2 library that I hadn't yet played, which included our games, or at least Jedi Starfighter, which I had never played post ship. Yeah, it'd be a little embarrassing to watch, honestly, because I remember looking at the ships flying and being like, oh, I could do so much better now. Not so much the AI, which was fine, but just like the flight models are very janky for the enemies. So
I said the
it'll
same
be
thing.
it'll be interesting.
He can do so much better now.
I
Well,
could
that's
indeed.
part of building on a career. You always start off somewhere and just making it functional, and then you just realize how you can do it better eventually. So
Right,
no
but
shame
I'll
in
never
that.
work
Like,
on another one of those. So yeah,
Well, I don't
all
know
those
why you
learnings
wouldn't.
lost.
I don't know why you wouldn't, because you feel so strongly about it now. Like, oh, I can do this so much better. Just dive in and make it a passion project.
Sure.
Maybe
so-
we should.
We have a response there from Jeff Entertainment saying jank equals soul, so there's something to be said for that. So you should definitely
Yeah,
stick
a lot of
around
soul
for
in
Tim's
there, I
stream
guess.
tomorrow. Sorry, later today. Tim is later today. Just for those of you joining us, we are some of the community members of the Dev Game Club podcast. I myself am Artimage. You should know if you're on my channel. If you're a regular viewer, thank you for being here. If you're a new viewer, welcome and thank you for being here. Over on the top right of the screen, just above me, is Keaon, who has been working through his NES quest. Let me give his channel a quick shout out. He is playing tomorrow some DuckTales and some Shovel Knight. I almost said Hollow Knight because I'm silly. That'll be Kyle and Era later. Up on the top left, we have Biostas, who's done a lot of our admin and work behind the scenes, which we cannot thank him enough for. And to my immediate left and above me next to Keaon, we have the host of the Dev Game Club podcast, being Tim Longo Jr., who kind of inspired the joke that started all this. And we have Brett Duville, both with a couple decades in the industry, though Brett is apparently only like 30 this year or something. Having met together at LucasArts, gone on to studios such as Bethesda in Brett's case, and 343 Industries, I believe it was, for Tim's, and a few others. And they now work together at Tim's own company, Twin Suns Corp, which we're looking forward to see what they come up with together. So, guys, with you seeing the lineup, is there anything that you look at in the games that are being played where it's like, we should play that, or X inspired by that for the podcast sometime?
I mean, I should play Hollow Knight again. I tried it on stream some years ago, but I ended up having some carpal tunnel issues and basically had to stop playing because that game was really rough. On top of a normal day's work to add some pain to. But I'd like to get back to that game in particular, and I'm going to watch Kyle and be inspired, like, oh yeah, I could do that someday. Go through and be hit, no times, I understand. Today is the day
Today's the
that
day.
he's going to do that, yeah. But he's been getting closer and closer. I'll see his notifications that he's like, I'm down to 5 or 3 or whatever, and it's amazing to me.
Yeah.
He's done no hit runs before, just this one he's looking for the true ending is the thing. That's the difference now. So
The true ending. I've started.
what about your...
Yeah, same actually. That's one of them. I've gotten probably about halfway through that game twice, and the problem that I've had is I keep changing systems, and no, I didn't mean to mention this on air, but recently a very nice person that is on this call gifted me a Steam Deck for various reasons, and so
You're welcome.
I bought it. It wasn't Artimage.
No, it wasn't. I could not. Come on.
And so now I have a Steam Deck, and so I rebought it a third time, and I'm going to restart it on the Steam Deck because I feel like it's perfect for that. So I'm excited to see Kyle's as well. But to be honest, I want to see Mega Man. I want to see Mega Man happen, and I need to be inspired to go back to Mega Man, all the Mega Mans. And also, as you know, for those of you who listened, you know I'm a big fan of Minecraft, and so I can't wait to see Lost. I've already obviously seen some of his stuff by being on the server. Thanks to Brett for that. I want to ask him if he wants me to jump in. I might jump in while he's streaming, and we can pal around or something.
Yeah,
but
I was
don't know, I don't know
thinking
what
of
his
jumping
plans
in
are.
as well.
Yeah.
Because I haven't
sh-
seen any of the stuff he's done since the early days, and I'd like to kind of run over and see this giant causeway and all that stuff that I've been hearing about. So, as well as
I'm more than certain that
Arthur C. Clarke
I'm more
quote in Tim's
more than
background.
certain that I'd have you guys on. Just a matter of like if you can set up the Discord call for it or not. Going back to the topic of Hollow Knight, though, is that something we might hear about on the podcast in the next couple of years? Then,
Probably not. I mean, it's far too recent, and it's dependent on a lot of games that came before it. It's just a great game. I was more thinking of the ones that are going to be played. I'd have to go back and look at the lineup to see if there's particular ones that I've thought of. I have thought about doing like a really early Sierra kind of adventure game, but we played sort of King's Quest and Space Quest for those. But some of my earliest games were things like Wizard and the Princess, Mystery House, things like that go way back to Eternal's Bequest, that go back to the early '80s. So those are things that I'm curious about as well.
We have we've definitely talked about Pikmin. I'm looking at the lineup again too, because we definitely have some more obscure games this year, which is great, right? And some stuff that isn't as easily accessible. And then the other one that you were playing, which we discussed, Secret of Monkey Island. But we already played. We played Day of the Tentacle, but I just and I keep plugging it. It's hard to say because part of the point of the podcast, right, is to talk about the impact and relevance today. And so what conversations are going to come up when we talk about a game. And though Monkey Island's story and aesthetic and just whole tone is so unique and so fresh and so good, and it's fueled pirate fantasy, I think, comedy pirate fantasy like Sea of Thieves, which I'm a big fan of, and I put hundreds of hours in. So it's fueled other things, but like as far as new topics that would come up with Secret of Monkey Island, I don't know if it would. We've debated that, but I would still like to play that one. It's such a classic Lucas game, but it's similar enough in structure to Day of the Tentacle where we might not have new things to say. But I think Pikmin is probably a likely candidate down the road. Probably if we
just because you brought up Monkey Island. Just because you brought up Monkey Island, what about looking at one that's a little more recent, like maybe Curse, which introduced voice acting a little more simplification?
Oh yeah, no, I think it's just all a matter of recency. I think it's just when we haven't really decided on what our cutoff is, but Curse is good as well.
Yeah, you're thinking Return is the most recent one, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. You said
Curse was the one in
Curse is
'97.
the Ackley and Ahern one from
that was
from when I
third?
joined, actually. The third.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually was a tester a little bit on that, QA tester back in the day.
It was the
Yeah,
first
that's a
game I
great one,
played at
too.
LucasArts because it came out right before I joined. It came out like 2 months before I joined.
That's a good one. Art style's
Also,
amazing. Shout out to Bill
Mark is
Pillar.
now in the chat, trying to pass himself off as human. I'm not sure I got past the captcha, but we'll have to deal with that later.
I don't know
so,
how he does it all either. Mark is amazing. Just definitely a machine.
So, are there any games planned this year for the podcast that you guys want to make mention of so people look ahead for?
I think you give us far too much credit for how much we plan.
I do.
It is Saturday. We record on Tuesday. We've not yet had a conversation about what we're playing for the next game.
So you're saying we might have another mailbag this week?
No, probably not.
It's
Unless
usually last
a
minute.
lot of mail comes in the next few days. We have one. So no idea yet what that's going to be. I had some thoughts, but and one that follows naturally, I think, from Minecraft, but we'll have to talk between us.
Oh, Valheim? Okay, let's do it.
Nope, not Valheim. That's way
So
after
probably-
the cutoff.
Too recent.
I'm gonna guess Terraria.
Too recent.
Hey, what year did
yeah.
Valheim come out?
Yeah, I don't know, like
That's the cutoff.
3 years ago. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's been a while.
I'm gonna guess Brett's alluding to Terraria then, which was the one that I got into for the sort of thing. Brett says no, that's fine. Like I'm just
Also
adding a little
probably
bit.
too recent. Though
thing on it.
love the art style and the pixel art on that. It's great.
I think Terraria might be the game that fried one of my laptops. I turned it up to high res
No.
and never booted again.
Wow.
That's a feature.
That's kudos to them.
I mean, I had a much more laid back vacation, to be honest, because I did that like on the second day.
Wow.
Just for some context, there, Terraria came out in 2011 in May. Just in case that is a cutoff thing.
Well,
'Cause
what's
I know
the
the-
latest one we've played? Dark Souls? We talked about this.
I
and
think
always
so,
forget.
which is the September of the same year.
Oh no. Okay. Dark Souls 2
Well,
it is.
Brett did say that Dark Souls was not setting a precedent. It was just there was so much influence from it
Yeah.
that they couldn't ignore it any longer.
Yeah.
So I understand where that was coming from.
Yeah. 2011 still is a little bit recent. But we haven't planned. We have no like rules. We don't really even know what the cutoff is. It's kind of
Well, considering that you pretty much admitted that you dove into Minecraft because of my Minecraft marathon, like
Yeah.
it's very apparent how little of a plan there is.
yeah, that was a good inspiration for sure. That was like why haven't we played that one yet? Because I mean, I guess the series explained all of my thoughts on that, so I won't repeat them. But yeah.
When did the first Lego game come out?
Wasn't that Lego
2004,
Island one?
2005?
Was that Wii?
Early.
Yeah, Wii era.
The Traveler's Tales one was PS2. Lego Star Wars. I know because they had just given it to them. Might have been 2006 actually by the time it came out, but they had just given it to them when we were working on Republic Commando. It was that and KOTOR 2, I think, that Rachel Bryant, who was our producer on Jedi Starfighter, was overseeing the external development of. So Traveler's Tales but that was a whole thing because Traveler's Tales was given the license to go do this with Lego, and LucasArts didn't know anything about it for a while, which was a big no-no at the time. I probably still is, right? I mean, they still license everything through there, but at the time, it was like, "You're doing what? You can't do that. We're the company." So we had to get producers in there and publishing and all that involved at the time. I remember it being a whole thing. But then it came out. It was like, well done.
Classic. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good one.
truly.
Bio. Hadn't thought of that one. And it obviously launched a whole empire of games.
Every franchise. Yeah.
Yeah,
has a
exactly.
Lego
Yeah,
game. Yep.
exactly. Yeah, I think Brett, my memory of that was that Lucas Licensing actually had made the deal without LucasArts.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just went and did it, and and the game was really good. I mean, we saw it and we're like, oh, well, yeah, but also like business-wise, the deal has to go like that was like a very big breach of not just etiquette, but contract.
company politics.
Yeah.
This sounds like a big case of desperation is the best motivation in the end.
Well, I think it's more just they saw a good potential for a product, and I know that licensing had come to us prior to that about maybe Galaxies, and just felt like it was really cumbersome to come through us because we had a process for talking about things, and I know that they I don't know that they enjoyed talking to LucasArts, honestly, but yeah. But sometimes those deals happen and they make a lot of sense. So
It can certainly be that way. You never know what's going to come on, especially in an industry that has moved very fast at sometimes and other times just kind of crawls. Why don't we talk about this a little bit? Where do you guys feel like was your most exciting moments in your career? Like what time frame? Not necessarily a project or anything, but like just looking at the industry as a whole. Where do you feel like you were most eager to be doing what you do?
Wow.
I know a bit nebulous question there.
yeah,
but...
that's a hard one to answer. I mean, because it's which one of your children do you love the most? But the
answer is obviously the last one. It's always the last one.
I was when Skyrim came out, I was actually on vacation the week that it came out, so the 11th of November, and I happened to be in San Francisco, the literal like the 10th, I guess, and I was seeing a show at the ACT there, and walking down the street, there's this huge line of people going up the block, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, because we were, I don't know, a few blocks north of the theater district, walking down, and then we passed, and it was like a GameStop. And I might still have the picture on my phone, but there were just people just lined up like crazy for Skyrim, and I remember going, I'd never like been part of that before. That was a really unusual experience for me. and it was very it was just a very strange kind of surreal experience to be just out in the world. I've had that happen one other time, which was I was in I was standing in line for the catacombs in Paris. So when I travel, apparently that's when video game people find me. And this guy and his girlfriend in front of me are talking about Republic Commando, and this was like in 2009, 10, something like that. And they're literally just sitting there talking about it, and I said, "Oh yeah, I was the lead programmer for that game." And the guy wanted to take a picture with me. It was very odd. What a random play, and it was another American. It was a very strange experience. So it's been interesting to be out in the world in just random places and be kind of touched by humbled by the kind of way that we get to touch other people in that way, through our work.
What about for you, Tim? Does anything come to mind? I know you usually need a little more time to think about these bigger questions.
Oh yeah, you know me. I from the podcast, I'm terrible on the spot. But I do. I mean, I think that rather than the games, because I've definitely been lucky to work on some cool games with some cool teams.
That's why I said it was more about the time frame, like what was going on in the industry, not
I think I
the
have
games.
a pretty recent time frame actually, and you mentioned earlier that, and this isn't a plug for Twin Sons, by the way, but you mentioned earlier that Twin Sons is my company. It's really not. It's our company. We're definitely, Brett's on the leadership team too, so we do it together. And I would say that, like, I have a feeling that looking back over my career, because it's going to be 29 years for me this year, that early Twin Sons and just Twin Sons in general, like, I'm sorry we can't talk about what we're doing, and we haven't shown really
You should be.
so
We want to know.
Again, it's not a plug for the company, and I'm not trying to like build up mystery or anything, but it's just more.
No, we know.
It's just doing something yourselves and together, and doing it the way that you've always wanted to do it, or try. Like, the industry's definitely rough right now, so that's been hard. But I think the company and the team, I think we might look back pretty fondly on that era and be happy, even if we never ship anything, like, who knows what will happen, to be honest, because it's really rocky out there. But I think for me, that's been a really great journey and experience, not to be cheesy. And it hasn't really been, I mean, I've been, again, very lucky on various projects. Tomb Raider team is amazing, Halo team is amazing, Republic Commando is amazing, so I've been very fortunate. But even with all of that amazing stuff, I still think it's going to be hard to hold a candle to working with the team at Twin Sons. So yeah, that's I think my prediction. 30 almost 30 years in.
Yeah, it's a fair point. It's the only company I've ever worked where the sort of mission statement or company goals are like something I've written down on my desk that I refer to, and to have those shared across the directors group is really special. Even if Tim just abuses them all the time in his endless quest for power, at least we're all kind of pulling together to fight against the man.
Speaking of looking back, Art, did you talk about the video you're going to show?
I have made mention of it, where Phil is going to get into some details over some things they talked about launching at the Video Game History Foundation next week.
It's launching next week. They officially announced it on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so a week from when they announced it, it will debut. You'll get to see some of the features in the video. So if you're interested in what Video Game History Foundation has been doing in terms of projects, you'll get a little bit of a sneak peek into that, and I think that's going to be exciting for people.
It is really slick.
It is. Like, I'm curious about some of the jank that might be to it, but like, this is a fresh project, hammering out the details, but I expect overall it's still going to be a majorly positive thing. So even the jank, like, I'm looking forward to being like, okay, I see what they were trying to do. They just need to be aware that this is what's going on and refining it from there. So looking forward to seeing what comes out of this. I'm not going to go into it too much myself because I want to just let the video speak about it. So I don't know if everyone here has had a chance to see the video yet. Keaon, I know that you've gotten an email about it. What about you, Brett and Tim? Have you seen the video from them?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
I'm not.
But if you want to make sure they get that sent to them, because
Yeah,
I don't
Tim
know
should
if
have it.
they'll...
Oh, I have it. Yep, just haven't watched it yet.
Oh yeah, you'll be getting the emails too. I'm sorry, Tim. Silly me. See, this is why Bio's the one doing all the admin stuff, because I will forget these things all the time.
I do
Files
want to
got
say
everything.
it was appreciative of you guys responding to the questions that we sent in on the last podcast, relevant to, you know, preserving the history of games. I think both you tangentially sort of answered in the sense that, like, when it doesn't matter anymore, I might be able to send some notes. It's sort of the take-home message, which would be really cool.
Yeah.
I particularly appreciate. Sorry, go ahead, Tim.
No, I mean I don't mind sending notes now. To be honest, like I think I might be a little more cavalier, especially because with the transition that LucasArts ended up making when Disney came in, it's hard to say like who's looking out for what anyway. So it's maybe a little bit more air coverage there, or maybe more shadow work. I don't know what phrase to use there. But I actually was going to bring that up too, Bio, not to plug our podcast, but really to plug that episode in particular, because I really love that interview with Phil. Full admission, the detail he went into with their mission statement and goals wasn't something I was aware enough of. And he really presented it well in the difference of what they're trying to do versus other preservationist groups, and so that was a nice surprise, especially as a developer, right? Just to have them coming at it from their approach. So definitely, I'm sure the video will explain it, but I think Bio and Calamity did a great interview as well, which gets into
Absolutely,
a lot
they
of
did.
detail. Yeah, a lot
Yeah,
of
100%.
I have just linked the episode in the chat as well for those who might be interested.
Thank you,
If you're
thank you,
only going to listen to one, that would be the best one to do. It's not going to be Brett and Tim at all, which some people might see as a positive, who have sent in some responses
Exactly.
before. But it's certainly a good place to get your foot in the door and see who's kind of come out of this community at the very least.
So one thing I wanted to bring up, I don't know if it made the podcast, but it was in our conversation. It might have got cut. When Phil was talking about his degree in library science, and then you brought up your wife has one, we had like a whole conversation around that degree itself, but we didn't put it in the podcast. But
Oh wow!
it was so funny because when I was in graduate school, one of my friends there was doing, but I think they called it an MILS. It's Information in Library Science. And I know Phil's was slightly different, but it was a funny 2-minute conversation about like what is that degree and what does it do and how did that translate to what he's doing now. But it sort of just got cut for content.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it before, but Brett's a big library fan, reading 300 books a year or whatever he does. Yeah,
There's
the
Brett's small
reading stack
bookshelf.
for today. But my wife.
Well, it depends upon how much time he spends on these streams. So in which case it might be the whole weekend.
Yeah, exactly. He'll be reading, multitasking. But yeah, for us, like when you brought up library science, when Phil brought it up, I mean, we literally, my wife's an author primarily, but she also is a librarian now, and we talk about libraries every day, I feel like, in some way, shape, or form. So when you brought it up, it was just cool because she's very passionate about, and I am too, I think, about the importance of them and the importance of what librarians do across different disciplines and different industries, right? Because there's so many different types. The fact that Phil's background was like, it sort of gave me hope for their effort and confidence, because you have somebody who's thinking that way about it rather than, oh, I'm just collecting a bunch of stuff. It's like, no, I'm actually looking at it from a systemic way,
Yeah.
in a systemic way.
I felt like he came across as thinking very strategically about their niche in the preservation world, right?
Yeah.
Is how I would put it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like a big focus on curation around the information rather than just here's a collection of what constitutes the end result.
Yeah, he mentioned multiple times on that episode that, when they get something, it's like a Phil problem, or he said something like that. It's like, oh, this is
Yes.
a Phil problem to solve, because it's like a random ephemera that that you talk about in the episode. So again, listen to the episode; you'll get it much better there. But
And
yeah,
and
that was
also
great.
listen to the mailbag episode where you two also respond to that, because I think that's an important sort of coda, I guess I would call it, on that.
And there's also a great
Just-
moment where Bio challenges Phil's approach to their study, that he gives his 2 cents, which I want to point out, where he's like, you could have done it this way. It feels like, well, I'll take that under advisement. It's great, coming from the science side of things, which is wonderful. And Phil took it. I think you may improve the next study. So well done.
Yeah, hopefully.
He definitely took that in quite the spirit. He's like, I understand what you're trying to get at. I've got a system right now, and I'm not screwing that up by adding something else in that may work better eventually. I've got a starting point here.
Yeah, well, and I think the thing that occurred to me is I'm not, I'm slow in many ways, but I had read articles about the study, and I didn't put two and two together until your episode where it came from, because it's like the 81% or whatever that percent, that people keep quoting of lost games. I hadn't realized it came from them, until that episode. So that's on me, but that study actually, and then the fact that they went to hearings to present it and all this sorts of stuff was like mind-blowing.
According to a study by the VGHF, it's 87% of classic video games released in the United States before 2010 are out of print and considered critically endangered.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, of all of us here, Keaon actively plays those on original hardware, right?
Yeah.
Like,
look at
he's the one
behind
that
him.
we should be asking.
Let's see if I can give you just like Brett did his books. Let's see if I can do the NES cartridge collection. Yeah,
amazing.
That's like 3 half-again wide Billies for those of you who don't have a clear reference.
Exactly.
But it is not a small bit.
In order to do this, so I'll only take a minute, but in order to do this, I have several different Nintendo Entertainment Systems sitting next to me. One of them comes from Japan. One of them comes from Norway. And then the others come from America. So I have a European Nintendo Entertainment System, a Japanese one, and the U.S. releases in order to play these games, and they have to stay working. So
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and
Japan Entertainment responds with Gomoku Narabe.
Yeah, Gomoku Narabe. That's the Japanese game he's been wanting me to play. It is essentially Go for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Oh,
yeah.
How do you? Is it finishable? Like.
Yeah. That particular one. It's actually right here. that particular game, it's like waiting for Jeff. But that particular game does have a mode where if you beat, there's certain rules that they kind of make the game smaller. But yeah, if you beat the computer's AI, then you win. Yeah.
Wow.
Japan Entertainment offers a correction with its Connect 5 just on a Go board.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
I wanted to point out on the subject of video game history preservation that I've been keeping an eye out for Tony's paper that he mentioned when we interviewed him last year. Coincidentally, he was kind of involved in what he described as a charter for preservation. Some things to consider, but it's still pending publication. So I'll keep an eye out for that, and because it was supposed to come out in December, and it just hasn't dropped yet. So
it's funny. He actually mentions Phil too in your interview.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Quite.
Phil's just got his fingers in all the pies.
Yeah.
Video
It's
game
cool.
history seems to have quite a reach.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, one of the other things that didn't make the cast was we were introducing ourselves, and I said what university I'm from. And he's like, "Oh, I was just talking to somebody in the computer science department about this topic a month ago." So it is being actively, at least in some institutions, being discussed to undergrads.
Yeah. Yeah, Brett and I have a mutual friend too who works at Stanford. I don't know if you know the website Don't Die, and he's a journalist who has interviewed. It's definitely, and not meant to be a plug either. I didn't even intend to bring it up, but David, he has done interviews of developers over many years. I don't know. He has hundreds of interviews, so you should check it out. But he's working with Stanford, not only on game preservation, but to get his interviews into sort of like their preservation system, so that because he's gotten to way more people than we have on the podcast when it comes to who he's talked to, and just to kind of capture those so they can be used in schools and universities and stuff. So
yeah, he interviewed me. I was on the first week he released them back in
amazing.
2013,
That's when you met him,
2014.
right?
Yeah, it was one of the first interviews he did. he released several right around that time. We met the first time at GDC, but we had spoken on Skype or whatever.
Speaking of interviews, I just want to say that 2024 had like this all-star lineup for you guys. I don't know how you're gonna top that in any year moving forward. Like it's insane.
Yeah,
I don't think the effort is ever the top. I think it's just get who you can get and hope for the best.
Yeah, it was. We talked about our planning. It's like oftentimes we are working on getting guests for months and months and months. At this point. So I am working on a couple right now, but I don't know if they're going to pan out. I don't know when they're going to pan out. So it was really just happenstance that they landed in the same year. I actually forgot. Brett maybe forgot too. Like we looked back at them and I was like, oh wait, all of these were last year. But holy cow, we got lucky on those.
Yeah, I mean, we had played a couple of the games that we had played the year before, and so I associate, because I put them in that way on the website, on the sort of what we played list. I just associate them with the year we played the game, but in this case, a couple of them were delayed from when we actually played them, so it ended up being quite a year.
Yeah, I can understand that perception thing. Does make me wonder a question though, in the behind the scenes production sort of sense. You've had a couple of interviews where it's not necessarily people directly involved in the game's development, but maybe some sort of community project or things like that. What makes those interview decide to pursue instead? Is it a lack of access to the people on the development side? Is it something that they have a different outlook on? Like, where does that come from?
Yeah, some of them have just been happenstance. So Sebastian Deacon, who we talked to for final, and you'll have to help remind me of some other folks. I know we had some for Zelda as well, but with Sebastian, like he had literally just come out with the book, and getting somebody from Japan, from Japanese development it's an uphill battle, both because of a language problem, but also just a cultural. Like they
the
tend
culture's
not to
the
do
bigger issue.
interviews, and we were really close on Sakaguchi back in Final Fantasy IX. I think we were talking to him, and he's in Hawaii. We're like, it's actually not a terrible time. Just like, this could actually work out. But in the end, the cultural mores, I think, won out, and he just didn't feel comfortable doing it. Whereas, Tim's like, I'll give him anything I have. I'll throw them all under the bus. Come after me, bro. A little bit different in that regard. So Sebastian, I mean, in particular, in that case, it was, we had even recently to that one, folks have been asking, well, why don't you talk about things like music more? And we're like, well, because we're a couple of music idiots, right? Because we don't really know anything. And so that's why it was like a great opportunity to bring in somebody who literally just wrote the book about the music in this game. So that was just a happy coincidence. I don't know if there were others in particular, but I don't remember.
Well, Lanny,
like the books is incredible.
Yeah, that's the
Which one was that?
The series that he was part of, how they wrote.
Boss Fight book.
One novel per one game. Yeah, it's amazing.
Those are great. Yep.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, I just thought of Lanny as well as an example, but who we had on for Zelda, who's just a Zelda fan, Zelda tattoo, friend of ours, professional, uber professional producer in the industry. So I thought she would have.
And Lanny doesn't do anything halfway. It's like.
No.
He gets into F1, it's like, I'm going to F1 in Monaco. That's
intense. But one of her favorite games and stuff. So I think to your question, Artimage, it is often like I felt like for Ocarina especially, we should have somebody on because it's such an important game, and so that was just us trying to get creative because we knew we wouldn't get anybody from Nintendo on. So to be honest, I feel like we're always scrambling to get guests on for each one anyway. And I feel like those, I think we could actually have much more. I think we could have some new, fresh perspectives on things if we did more of that, to be honest. Like, it's great to have developers who remember working on the game for sure, but the games have usually touched so many people that I think it would be fun to have more of the player side of things, right? Or community, like you said, people who drove particular communities for games. So
guys, we got a problem. There's a bot in the call.
Bot on the call.
Bot on the
Somebody
call.
put in a command.
I don't
in the
know
car,
how to deal
no
with this.
less.
Hey guys,
Man, those deep
I'm
fakes
out
are
of
getting
pocket
good.
today. but figured I would join and say good luck to everyone.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Robot. We appreciate your deepfake efforts and the work that your algorithms develop with the website.
Thanks for all your
As Tim has said, it's like a real site.
I hear it's a real website these days.
I'm looking at it now.
But-
It's amazing. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. Also, Tim, I don't care what Calamity says. I think you should go for it. 2-hour trespasser speed run blindfolded while wakeboarding.
I'm blind.
I need to see that waterproofing setup. That's my whole interest.
I do have a small special surprise when I do when I stream. Other than that, but it's not wakeboarding. I will say it's not wakeboarding.
It's a dinosaur.
We're all looking forward to it. That's
brought-
crazy, son of a bitch, he did it.
Yeah.
He already has a dinosaur streaming.
Ouch.
That was mean.
Ouch.
That is Bio and Brett being on the same wavelength. That's like
Oh,
you
God.
planned that.
Just to get back to the community involvement interviews there. Yeah, there was one I had suggested to Brett when you guys were working through Dark Souls. A person who goes on YouTube by the name of Vati Vidya, just because he's done such explorations. Like, if you're going to do an interview, you're probably not getting one from Japan for all the reasons that Brett talked about. But this is a guy who's like explored this so much. I don't think you're gonna find any better source for the information than Miyazaki himself. So that's all I can suggest. Don't know why it never went through. Not a big deal. Just a thought in the process.
Yeah, we
So-
didn't reach out in that case because we didn't really have a connection, and we weren't really. I wasn't really aware of any of the stuff surrounding Dark Souls. I mean, I'm just playing the game, and so I had no real connection to that stuff. I've since read Keza McDonald and Jason Killingsworth's their book, The Dark Souls Companion or Compendium, one or the other, and they talk a lot about Vatia as well. And so any of those people might have been a good connection, honestly. Jason, of course, has one of the best names in the video game space with Jason Killingsworth. But it would have been interesting to reach out to those folks because they literally wrote the book, at least in English, about it. I just read that over holiday break this past year, so it was very long coming to me getting around to it.
Well, Artimage, why don't
um,
you run Phil's video? Your spot takes in about 7 minutes, so yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say we'll get to that, but before I do, I just want to throw out one quick thing here to put Brett on the spot. Will you be joining as a participant for Defeating Games for Charity 3 next year?
I have no idea. That's a year away. I'm going to be 31. I mean, I'm sure I'll be
Big year.
mourning the loss of my 30s.
No,
and
you'll still be 30. You'll be coming
27.
into 31.
yeah. We'll see how it goes.
All right, well, I
I'll
genuinely
work on it
appreciate the
throughout
honesty. I appreciate that, Tim. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining on the call. Any quick things you want to shout out here before we move on?
Check out defeatinggames.com.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There you go, guys. Defeatinggames.com, link in the chat. We're going to get to a message here from Phil Salvador, where he's going to go into some details regarding the Video Game History Foundation Library.